I am a Sophianic animal. That would make a great t-shirt design, wouldn't it? Sophianic animal, because I've woken up to a fact, and the fact is that my ancestral heritage recalls and remembers the magic making that was created with the families and the communities, with nature, in harmony with nature, in joy and in celebration. These celebrations have been all but squelched by the solar calendar, which has an increasing amount of Islamic holidays on it. So we have all of these religious holidays for the Abraham-based thought control systems that pass off as religion, and which people follow with fervor and zeal and will kill in the name of their God, all of which came from the same source. It's all the same demonic God. However, these people have had the exaltation, the rapture of having a close, heart-opening experience with love and bliss and joy, creation. That's not placed in any religion. If they had that in that religion, and they're truly aware that there's a mother here, if, like all these football players and baseball players, always looking up and thanking him, when you're walking all over her and she's being raped by industry. So yes, I am a Sophianic animal and I follow Planetary Tantra as taught to me by my gnostic teacher on the internet, Mr. John Lamb Lash. And we are in the Mirita shift, also known as Chinnamasta. And she's number 5 on the Shakti Cluster app. Let me point out to you where she is. She's on the wing. So whether or not you are new to Planetary Tantra or not, this is the Shakti Cluster app. And in order to use this magic talisman, you must also know what the Terma of Gaia awakening is, and that includes the Sophianic narrative. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. In short, recognizing that there is a creation and there is a source of our creation that came before the modern religions. And I'm not going to convince you otherwise, but I'm going to suggest something to you. Begin doing one thing, and that's watching the solar calendar. There's somebody out there buzzing and buzzing and buzzing. You can't get away from it in suburbia. Someone's always edging, clipping, sawing, hammering, banging. Hopefully there's a lot of woo-woo-woo going on behind closed doors. You know, that kind of banging. The good kind of banging. The kind she likes. So that's exactly right. Sensuality, sex and sensuality is all part of human animal nature. And I am a Sophianic animal. Now that I've woken up to my playtime here on Earth, if the world is a game and we're in the Argan, we're in the contest, we're in a contest for our minds, people. We're in our reason why. Take a look at your calendar. Are you going to get a trigger word when I tell you Beltane, May 1st is coming up, May Day, and that is a pagan holiday? What happens to you? How do you feel about that? if you're finding yourself resisting it, because I thought it was weird too, until I started following the lunar calendar, I woke up. You aren't going to be able to get to this experience through your brain, people. You only get it through your body. And so even though conceptually I was like, yeah, Beltane, yeah, Samhain, yeah, this, that, whatever. And then I realized that every single one of the pagan holidays has been stamped by a religious one. And the religious ones are now all over the calendars that you get from the bank or from whomever. And none of them, this is all mainstream, none of them have Beltane. You have to get a specific moon calendar for that. I suggest you do that. Or get yourself Farmer's Almanac, so that you can start with step number 1, which is following the lunar cycle. Following the lunar cycle is what we're doing now when we're in a Dakini on shift, DOS, Devata on shift. Because the Devata is collectively the Mahavijjas and the Dancing Sky Dakinis. Which I love. I love the Dancing Sky Dakinis. And Mirita is amazing. I read some stuff from John Lamb Lash, nemeta.org. But I'm not going to go into it. Go to Planetary Tantra and click on anything you can about Chinnamasta. I speak to you of what I experienced when it comes to really understanding that my heritage as a European American was stolen from me. And I came to America, me meaning my ancestors, and the genetic I remember, working very hard and getting further and further away from the land, but also paganism was devil worship. Yeah. They had all this stuff about the devil. Like you couldn't look in the mirror that long because you were vain if you did it. All these messed up things. It took me until 50 to love myself. And I knew that if I learned to love myself completely and wholly in this lifetime, I gotta close the window. There's a, I can't. We're gonna leave it open then. Learning to love myself in this lifetime was a major accomplishment because I had my entire childhood in which I was told I was less than. We weren't allowed to have any other emotion other than like happiness. We had to be sort of, I won't go into my childhood other than the Protestants did a number on their children just as much as the Catholics did in different ways. And I'm not going to fight that institution. Instead, I've discovered and I'm suggesting that when you actually take a look at what the pagan holidays are and what they mean, don't go into those funky witchcrafty people that like are sky clad, aka nude, and they have to have a dagger and a chalice and a other implements that means a pentacle, all these implements that mean things. That's just pretend. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I am saying those are all outside implements. It's an inside job. Magic is an inside job. You attune yourself to the planet. And once you attune yourself to the planet, you start in sharing her wisdom. She's the fallen wisdom goddess. Everything you need to know is in the earth. I don't care about disclosure. I don't care about what's up there other than the sun and the moon and benevolent federations of whatever galactic force fields and dimension that is interested in the well-being of my magical well-being. Because Earth is a fighting ground and we are a petri dish in order to create the immunity to this mind virus that's taken people over who don't even know they're brainwashed. How do you take over a people? You take away, well, you traumatize them, but you take away their connection to the earth. What did the Europeans do who colonized America to the American Indians, the indigenous culture? That is what they did, except they slaughtered them all in Europe, which is why you're not woke yet. Which is why if you think paganism is evil and has to do with blood rituals, yeah, you're probably talking about the ones that's just pretend, that buffoons follow, mimicking the power sharing with the earth. They're not magicians at all. It's mockery. Skull and crossbones, that's a mockery. I don't care about these elitist so-called secret societies. They're mocking the real mystery schools. They're playing just pretend. The for real magicians, the for real skull and crossbones, the Knights Templar who resorted to piracy in order to survive because they were driven to the seas, they became seafarers. All of these myths, all of these legends. And then we're told something different. The pirates were heroes. That was the Robin Hood of the seas. Rethink how your history's been handed to you. Why are we always learning battles and who won what battle? Who the fuck cares? I'm not even going to convince you of anything other than if you pay attention to the calendar, you will realize that it focuses your mental mind on all of these religious holidays, and you're taken further and further away, and you're told when spring is. March 21st, 22nd, first day of spring. No, that is not the first day of spring. It's not. I don't know what the first day of spring is. I'm just learning this stuff. But I know the first day of summer. And I also know March 21st, 22nd. That's the spring equinox. That's when they celebrate the fact equinox equal dark. So it's a time that black magic has been practiced against you. So be aware that religions that tell you not to look behind don't look into any of that because none of it's true, and it ends up being true. And Notre Dame burning down the steeple, the patriarchal steeple, the thing pointing up into the sky to a narcissistic pretender god. That's actually the devil himself. I mean, what are people going to do when they actually realize that they've been I don't know if enough people, hopefully people can have their spiritual house in order and realize that the core of their being is good. You don't need a religion to be a good person. You go on a quest for the Holy Grail. Read the story of Parsifal. Learn compassion. But back to the seasons, when you pay attention to the seasons, you discover Beltane is May 1st. It's the time of great fertility. Great fertility, love-making, couples stay together, are heard for a full year at least. If they have children, they don't do any of this selfish stuff that we do. It takes a village to raise a child. I'm not suggesting promiscuity. I'm saying take a look at the historical significance of Beltane, first day of summer. And why do you think Midsummer Night's Sex Comedy or Midsummer Night's Dream? Shakespeare is teaching us about paganism. Right there, right there. And it's midsummer, and it's June 21st, 22nd. Because that, my friends, is a magical time. Because it's the summer solstice. Summer begins May 1st at the Beltane, and the summer solstice. What does solstice mean to you? It's not the first day of summer, it's the height of summer. It's the zenith, it's the solstice. So it's climbing up from May 1st, and then it peaks at midsummer June, and then it goes down. So that at the vernal equinox in September, we have equal day, equal night, but this time in favor of the dark, meaning the dark will start to dominate. So when we celebrate Candlemas, we're bringing in the light. We're bringing in the light that is in the earth, the light that is in life, the light that is in our own hearts and our own communities, the light from which we come, because everything is light. We are light. Now we're in the age of Kali Yuga, and we are in an age in which learning the elements is extremely important. Iron. So rather than going into all of the instructions, the sacred instructions of the Terma of Gaia Awakening, I am going to show you that I've got this I printed off of metahistory.org, but now you can get it at Nemeta. So the Terma of Gaia Awakening is the open source format for such a mystic ludic experiment. That is one in which you play. And you play with the earth, you play with her messages, and you play with the things that you see happening in the human drama. So for me, I played with the idea that, oh yeah, the citadel, what was it that burned down, partially? Notre Dame was built on the site of Isis. And Great Lady, Isis, it's filled also with pagan symbolism. The sun god, Apollo. Take a look at it. It's filled, and it doesn't matter whether or not it was done purposely or not purposefully. It wasn't that potent of black magic, I tell you that much. It just goes to show you, to me, it shows you how weak they're getting. But still people, haven't they realized yet that Paris is hurting because Paris is overrun by men who are from a country that doesn't follow other countries' codes of conduct? Because they follow a religion, a belief system, a mind control system that renders them inhumane to humans. So Christians were snowed into turning the other cheek, love thy enemy as thyself. Really? Are you going to love the enemies of life? Right to your death? I'll love them to death. Your death. So rather than trying to convince you of all this, what I'm suggesting is when you start following the lunar calendar and you pay attention to the pagan mystery, and there is no mystery, but you debunk the whole pagans were devil worshippers, because they weren't. It's all history. Those are all lies. People were tortured and burnt at the stake. Whole villages were wiped out. Women and children, especially those who knew the old ways. The men would watch as their women were killed horrifically. We have this in our DNA. Anybody that freaks out when they hear the word pagan may have been one of those that was tortured so badly that they are freaked out and they don't even know that they've been mind controlled to the point where century after century after century they have Stockholm syndrome. You actually embrace your enslavers. Look, here's a new gadget. Put your face in your new gadget. Attenuate your marvelous imagination into a new gadget. Put it into there. Let your smart device do the thinking for you. See what kind of life you have when you actually unplug. You know, I stopped watching television years ago, and every single time I had a boyfriend, of course, I'm watching television. So then, when I was married, those men all came with a remote control before remote controls actually existed. I'm quite sure. And we're looking for that remote control even before it was invented. You know what I mean, ladies? You guys. This is my remote control. I use this crystal, this key that I found in the desert. So I connect my heart to the inner earth's heart, and then I connect my heart through the sun portal to the source of creation. I feel male, female. I feel love, bliss, and joy. I feel a sexless, but sensuous, but not sexual presence of divine love that's very potent and powerful. And it's what I'm from, and it flows through me. And now when I am witnessing the earth, I'm seeing these seasons go by in an endless cycle of celebration and magic. Beltane is when we have the Beltane fires. It's a time of great fertility, blessings to the land, grace and gracefulness and gratitude, giving great joy and putting this energy into the earth through copulation, certainly, but also through celebration and dance, the maypole dance for the younger ones, showing the Kundalini energy. It goes up through you. It goes up. So I have the Farmer's Almanac because, frankly, Stellarium I've heard is really good to use to study the stars and the moon's movement, but I've been this has been helping me. So today happens to be, we're in the Mirita shift, aka Chinnamasta, and we are in, the Lyrid meteor shower is supposed to happen, and Hygeia is in conjunct with the sun, whatever that means. So you're supposed to make sure you help a child plant a garden this summer, and you want to weed. Any brown stems on bulbs, you cut the brown frontage off. You don't cut all of it off, you cut off the brown. So we are in day 18 of the Planetary Animal Mother's moon cycle. And that means we're post full moon, and we're going into the last quarter. In my last video I said first quarter, I misspoke. So we are in the reflecting and selecting. We're in between days 13 to 21. So you're going to be reflecting and selecting what Mirita means for you. And John Lamb Lash says some beautiful things here, so they're worthy. Chinnamasta teaches that those who enter Planetary Tantra would do well to observe the ancient paradigm of the 16-petal rosette. Okay? What was on the front of those two towers of Notre Dame? A rosette. Because the Knights Templar were the ones who built those first two columns. The mystery cells were established on that model. The rosette represents the activity of the mystery cells, and mystery is spelled with the capital M, as are cells, as is the word cells. At any one time, there were 8 initiates, or telestai, male and female, who carried on the inner workings of the cell. Auditions of clairaudient teaching, the divine mythesis, instruction by the organic light, the activities of God-making, that is to say, realizing the divine potential of humans, and done through rituals, which is why they were killed. But we're waking up, and you wake up by following the old religions, paganism, religion, celebrations of the earth cycles. So, following the rhythm of the earth. There is no new year, instructs Chinnamasta. And never again will there be a new year. For those who are initiated, enter into the inner secret of time, into the deeper studies of time, and they can designate a point in cosmic timing that would mark a new beginning. We're in that new beginning, folks. The correction is now. And we are rhythmically in this end of the Kali Yuga Kalpa. And the exact will be the spring of 2216. That's right, 2216. So we're in the beginning of the end. And we're in the beginning of the beginning. Because there is no end and there is no beginning. But we are in the second part of this inconceivable initiation into timelessness by becoming aware of yourself as a human animal, a sophianic animal, who recognizes their pagan origins. Enosis, knowing. So what we're going to be seeing is there are going to be people that are going to fall apart right before your very eyes. because people are calibrating the human endowment. Our innate gifts can only awaken through a power-sharing arrangement, also known as elemental magic, also known as Planetary Tantra. So if that rhythm is broken, which we're seeing, then things will break down and get worse, which is going to happen in the conclusion of the Kali Yuga. And you'll see a degeneration, a marked degeneration of human behavior, a marked increase of ignorance, a marked decrease of intelligence. Because the information and the wisdom that's available to the human mind is being shut off, because this is on, not even on airplane mode. I have it like, I discovered that if I put it on airplane mode and I turn it off, it right away hooks me up to Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. I only need data. So I just push one button, data on, data off. But so, Mirita, Chinnamasta, she retains her place in the cycle of the Dakini rhythms. She's reminding me to be attentive to the seasons of the earth that were followed and given names by the pagans. So, observe these calendars. Be in the experiment. Be curious. What would happen if you followed the lunar cycle? Would it change your life? Would you regenerate? Would you become younger? Would your thoughts be more clear? Would you be happier? Would you be healthier? And then watching the Beltane, for instance, May 1st. Observe well and observe with love. And when you observe this particular phenomena of regeneration on the planet we inhabit, bring to those observations the gratitude that it merits. The gratitude to belong to this experiment, and the gratitude to Chinnamasta for the demonstration of her glory. She brought attention to herself with Notre Dame. And I can see paganism was the most revered and respected until they got all killed off. And so I am going to lead you to finding this at nemeta.org under Planetary Tantra. But yes, Chinnamasta, she demonstrates her glory. You can call her Mirita. Thank you, John Lamb Lash, my Gnostic teacher on the internet. The rose is symbolic of the divine female. And there was a high demand for roses throughout the Roman Empire. The type of rose that had come down to us from the flower breeders of ancient Greece and Rome is called Gallica. When classical writers referred to the rose, rosa, they meant the Gallica. The wild rose or briar rose was termed Cinnamandrum, the dog rose. Let me spell the rose that came down through. It is spelled Gallica, and the wild rose is Cynodron, the dog rose. So we have Icean and Osirian mysteries, and there were temples where they would put the roses on their temples. And here is the strength card. Look at the strength card in the Rider-Waite Tarot deck, and it's the number 8. And look at the lady, and look at the lion, and look at the infinity symbol, and look at all the roses. Have strength, Have strength of spirit. And it doesn't matter whether or not people wake up. The waking up is happening. And there will be a degeneration, but don't let that degenerate be you. Good luck.